So where do you want to start this monstrosity?
Good question. I mean, we are what, 4,000 miles apart?
I believe so, at least that, in a several time zones.
Yeah, and where do I start now? Well, as for me, I'm retired now, so my day sort of revolves around sort of a bit of reading, walking the dog. She's usually up here beside me, but she's decided to go downstairs.
Right.
If she comes up, I'll let you hear.
Yeah, I'm technically retired too, so you know this is my little project just to keep me from going completely insane. So I suppose we should let everybody know you are in Scotland. I am not sure which city, which town.
We're in Glasgow.
Glasgow, okay.
Glasgow, yeah.
Okay, and we're going to give the closed captioning a workout today. So our friend Susie warned me. She's like, "Don't let Gordy start drinking before you talk to him. You'll never understand him." Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, I bet you that's delicious.
So I'm a member of the Scottish Malt Whisky Society.
Nice.
They give the whisky strange names. This is called Quantum Endranglement. So I like looking at bring it up to the camera.
Right there.
Quantum
Endranglement.
Wow. And so they get this is single cask strength. So this is 56.8% by volume of alcohol. So it's quite strong.
Oh boy, I know.
Yeah,
I think you had sent me a bottle several years ago. Glenlivet, maybe.
Yeah, maybe in Glenlivet. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that is delicious. That's my special occasion drink.
Well, the reason I got this one was because I like physics and I like looking at space and all that sort of stuff. Anything that comes up about either science fiction or if it's about, what's out there in the wild blue yonder. So the quantum endranglement caught my attention. So
yeah, that probably would have grabbed me as well. I'm interested in the same stuff. So
yeah.
So speaking of drinks, our good friend here.
Yeah.
Tell me how to pronounce this. I call it Irn Bru.
Irn Bru.
Irn Bru.
Brew.
Okay. Okay. It was always close. I think that's a fun game that you and I kind of play across the internet. You'll say something with your accent, and I try to decipher what it means. So.
Oh, what sort of thing could I say that would? I don't know what it's like through there, but the humidity here has gone up. The clouds have rolled in, and so as a Scotsman, I'm sort of melting,
Right.
And it's not very warm. It's only in the 60s.
Oh, really? I'm just looking at ours. Yeah, we're only at about. No, I can't see it. Of course, I haven't even stepped outside yet, so I'm not sure what it's like. But we're at 80 degrees today, so this is what I call.
I would just be a greasy blob.
Yeah, I call this bad fat guy weather. So it gets sweaty and yucky. And so you have an interesting hobby during your retirement.
Yeah, I have a couple of hobbies actually. One is collecting watches. And I've got a whole. I can bring around the box. This is only about one of the boxes. Yeah. So.
Oh boy. Now you actually dig into those and like take them apart and fix them and restore them and.
No. I collect what I like. I'm also a member of there's a worldwide movement called Red Bar. It came out of New York a couple of years back, and they've formed chapters all over the world. And you go along to meets and take some watches along, and basically you put them on the table and you walk away. and everybody comes around and they can all look and touch and lift them up and all that sort of stuff. A lot of people take them on, put them on the wrist and take a photograph of them. They'll ask questions about why did I buy it, when did I get it, all that sort of stuff. Some of the stuff is, there's about 10 high-end watches, but the rest is usually middle of the road. A few Seikos, and I mean, the cheapest watch I've got is probably a Timex that I got off eBay for £14.
Nice.
Something like $20, something like that. And it still runs. It was made in Scotland as well, up in the city of Dundee.
Dundee.
So
these. Being that I'm over here in the United States, and I'm probably, I would say, a typical American, where I know where Scotland is. You guys are a shade north of England there.
I've got a story about that later
on. I know little to nothing about your area. I mean, all I know is what I've seen in pictures and movies and whatnot, and I've read like different things about William Wallace and etc. But your country is so gorgeous. It's beautiful there. I mean,
I mean, half an hour from my house, I'm in the sort of the start of the Highlands, as it were. There's an area just north of Glasgow called the Trossachs, and it's like Scotland in miniature. It's wee switchback roads, and then once you go beyond Perth, which is about an hour's drive from here, you're starting to go into the Highlands proper. So anything north of Perth is really, really, really nice. Lovely place. But it's a country of about 5.5 million people. It's very small. I can't remember what New England state is. It either Vermont or New Hampshire? It's about that size. And it's not a very big country at all. But it's got a long coastline. So you've got the North Sea out to the east and the Atlantic out to the west. So, and I think our famous exports whiskey. Obviously, there's hundreds of them, hundreds of distilleries.
Nice.
And so a lot of people come across and they do whiskey tours where they get a bus and so that they're not drinking and driving. So
right,
when you do a tour, you get a wee nip at the end, a wee dram at the end. There's a couple of Scottish guys have set up taken their brewery from Scotland over to, I think it's Wisconsin. It's called Brewdog. Brewdog.
Okay.
Worth checking out. They've got a really, really nice IPA called Punk IPA.
Punk IPA. I am writing that down as we speak.
So they've got a distillery out in the States. They started up to get into the American market. Really, really nice. One of my favourite beers, actually.
They need to send an Irn Bru something over here too. That's ridiculous. I can't believe that. Well, we were messaging back and forth the other night, and for me to buy a case of this, which is delicious, in over here in the States, it's like $50 a case. I mean, and you can buy it like in your grocery store for what would you say the other night, like $5?
18 cans for £6.50. What's that? What, $8, something like that?
Wow, this stuff is delicious, though. I love it.
Well, the interesting thing about Irn Bru in Scotland is that Scotland's one of the few countries where Coke isn't dominant. You go into a supermarket and you'll find this stuff, and you'll find it in large 2-litre bottles, in the whole aisle.
Oh boy.
So there's they're roughly on parity, but they're not. Coke is not the dominant soft drink.
Yeah, not like the rest of the world where Coke is it. That's okay though, and you're getting the full fat version, the full fat with the high sugar content. Yep, yeah, no, I've been dieting for the last several months, and I'm like, I don't care, I'm blowing it for this today. I love this stuff. It's so good, and I think MJ, your wife, I think she's the one who actually turned me on to it at first. She said she was drinking it. I'm like, what is that? And she's like, oh, it's a soda. I'm like, oh. Interesting, but it's delicious. I love it.
It's very nice in whiskey as well. You put in whiskey, It's called the Rusty Nail.
I've noticed that too.
Here she is. Come, Rosie. Come here. Come. Easy, come. Easy.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm waiting for my guys on the floor here to notice. Every time they see a dog on a screen, they go crazy. And they start barking, and then they start looking around like behind the screen. Hey, where'd the dog go? So
yeah, she's one day. She'll be 2 in November.
Oh, that's right. You guys just got her recently, like a little bit ago.
Yeah, we'll had her. It'll be 2 years in February since she came home. So, but yeah, she's been great. A lovely wee dog. Very sociable. And no real issues, and she just wants to play and run all the time.
Yeah, that's how my two are. One of them, he's eating something he shouldn't be eating. Drop that. He had some trauma when he was really little. We were unloading the dishwasher one time, and he was barking at it because he was very curious, and he got up there, and somehow one of the rungs in the low rack on the dishwasher got caught in his collar, and then he got scared and he took off and took the drawer with him, from the dishwasher, and then he's running around and knocking stuff, and he was so now he's a big fraidy cat. People will come over, he hides by my feet, and his brother isn't too bad. He'll go out and mingle a little bit, but our little Sam, he just very, very traumatized. Big baby.
You lost a dog a couple of years back, didn't you?
Yeah, our baby. Yeah, she was she lived to be pretty old. But she was like a social butterfly. She loved people, and she loved talking to people and hanging around people, and she had a look about her that people would just fall for her every time they saw her. And the interesting thing about her, Gordy, is she was actually I think it was 35% wolf. In Alaskan Malamute. So yeah, she was something else. Also very small, but fun dog.
Yeah, the reason Rosie's a Cavapoo. She's a Cavalier and Charles poodle mix, and that was largely because I'm allergic to cats. Seriously allergic to cats, and I was mildly allergic to dogs for a while, and I wasn't sure if I still was. And of course, Mary Jane was on about getting a dog. You're retired now; you can get your own. So the Cavapoos with the poodle mix are hypoallergenic. So she came home, and the week she came home, I was scratching like this.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's going on here? And I just happened to be at her vet for her injections. And I talked to the vet, and she asked where she came from. So it was a household, and the household had other dogs, but they also had a cat. And the vet says to give her a bath. And that was it. His cat dander was on the dogs, inside the dog's fur. And it was a cat dander that was. So as soon as she got a bath, and she's never been a problem since.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you figured that out, so it didn't affect her at all. They have to. It's hard to deal with that. I know we have kind of like, well, we used to have more of when my niece lived here. We had like the Ark. We had 5 cats, 2 dogs, two chinchillas, a lizard. I don't know. I felt like Noah every time I walked through the front door, though. It's just like, God, there's a lot of animals in here. So, but I love having pets. And the other nice thing is we live kind of like right on the outskirts of our city, so it's like a little wilderness area right behind us. And I mean, regularly seeing all kinds of wildlife like deer and foxes and all kinds of good stuff.
We're in a suburb of Glasgow on the south side, and the estate's it's a former hospital. So when they did the estate up, some buildings were taken down, but other buildings were left and converted into flats. So you've got old buildings, and we're in a new build. But the area, there's a big park off to our east, and we regularly get roe deer coming through the estate. We've constantly got foxes coming through as well. So urban wildlife is interesting when you see them, especially in the morning and dusk. If people heading to work will see them feeding at the side of you would call it freeway, we call it motorway. They see it, the roe deer just feeding in the grass, and no problem at all. But they do cause some danger, because there've been some accidents where the deer cross over the road, and of course there's usually warning signs come, certainly in the winters, as the deer come foraging for food. So, but it's a nice part of Glasgow. It's quiet. Although it's a suburban, Glasgow is known as a city of parks. So there's parks within 10 minutes.
Okay, you want to try that again? The city of what? Because honestly, Gordy, to me, it sounded like you said the city of farts, and I'm pretty sure.
Accent, see, city of parks.
Parks. Okay. Yeah, I was pretty sure it wasn't the city of farts. So
it is a city of farts as well. You know, there's lots of farts around. I'm an old fart.
Yeah, me too. No, I can't. Like I was saying, Scotland is definitely on my bucket list of places I wanna visit, and just knowing you and MJ, like we do, I to have a tour guide if I make it over there at some point would be just so fascinating, because
wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I live in an area where we have it's called Wisconsin Dells, and it's like a tourist trap, and it just that sort of thing turns me off to touristy stuff. I would rather have somebody knows it, say, yeah, well, this rock here was here when the whatever happened, and I get more into doing that. And the other thing is, I definitely, how far are you from Loch Ness? I mean, obviously that's a big travel destination when people go there.
Yeah, Loch Ness is probably a good 2.5 hours drive north. It's quite far. It's quite far north. There's different routes you can take, and most of the major routes are the usual tourist routes. But you can go cross country over small roads. So you can join from one side of a mountain range to another through a small road with passing places, as they call it, single track road. So it's always quite nice to go the roads less travelled, because sometimes you see things you wouldn't normally have seen just following the main highways, as it were. So
right.
There's lots of options, and there's lots of places that you can go out of the way and to see small villages and things you would normally come across as part of the tourist traps.
Right.
It's like the world over. You get tourist traps because tour buses go in, they get a cut of all the sales and all that sort of stuff. And but the current climate with COVID, it's all nailed down. There's nothing moving at the moment.
Right.
Our lockdown lasted 14 weeks.
Okay.
So it wasn't eased until week 14. We've not been, well, I'll go back to Christmas. We think Mary Jane had it just before Christmas. She had all the classic symptoms, the breathlessness and all the rest of it. In fact, she was in real distress at one point, coughing up a mucus with white fatty nodules in it.
Ooh.
So that's what's getting stuck in the lungs and making the breathing difficult.
Oh boy.
She did all that, but she got through it. I just had a mild cold. It was all I've had. So we think we've been exposed, and this is before anybody knew what it was we had.
Right.
And
yeah.
So, Scotland being a tourist destination, particularly for large numbers of Chinese, if you go to Edinburgh, it's all been geared towards Chinese tourism. So lots of stores were catering for Chinese tourists. So they were still coming in through October, November, December, into January, maybe even to February, still coming in from China. So no doubt that there's been some carriers amongst that, among even some expats coming back for Christmas from China. So
We have several people I know. In fact, I don't know that I did, but there's several people that were saying, yeah, last fall, like our Thanksgiving over here, there's a lot of people that were, feeling. I was one of them. I was really sick, and then it just kind of went away. I don't know if it was. I mean, nobody knew what it was back then yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but there's. I don't know. This is crazy times with this stuff. It's just,
Yeah.
and then we have a certain segment of our population here who doesn't want to go by what we're being told to do, and okay, that's fine, but you're putting other people at risk too, which is and then like my case, I've been out of the house out. I don't mean outside. I mean like out traveling to wherever twice since everything started. And my reasoning for that is, number one, I'm home anyway and I'm doing whatever, but I realize I'm at an age and a weight group and whatever that's high, in the higher risk category. So I just don't want to take any chances, so go out, mask up, whatever.
I am type 2 diabetic, so I'm in that risk category as well. Carrying a wee bit too much weight. But our lockdown was about washing your hands and keeping social distance. And by and large, that has worked. That keeping people apart. It's only recently that they start now wanting to do things with masks. But I had a background in industrial health and safety, and some of the masks, when I see people wearing them, I go, really? That's not, because they're still touching the mask, so they're contaminated, or they put it down around their chin, so it's now contaminated on the outside, and then they put it back on. And the mask, humans don't wear masks very well. If I chat to some of our former colleagues who are occupational hygienists, it would be your N95, N100s in your end. We call them FFP2 or FFP3 over here, and these are face fit tested to your face, and that was what you would be wearing. I've got some in the house, but didn't wear them as a matter of course, because my view of the world is, if Mary Jane got sick again, she would wear the mask, not me. So if she's coughing anything up, it stays inside the mask. It doesn't get out, rather than me wearing the mask. But the problem that I can see is that people now believe that the mask is protecting them, and they may not be washing their hands, they may not be keeping, and they're touching surfaces. And they think the mask is making them superhuman.
Right.
And you wonder, and now they wonder why it's still spreading.
Yeah, it's not Batman's mask. I mean, it's a mask. I mean, but I've noticed that too. People think I mentioned this in the last recording I did previous to this one. I mentioned in the context of, especially when you're young, you think you're indestructible. I mean, nothing's gonna, and some people carry that with them over, I'm fine. It's nothing's gonna get me, and until it does, So, but I mean, we have, like I said, this certain segment here that just whatever they're told to do, they want to do the opposite, just because of whatever feelings they have about the government and whatever it is. Okay, just don't come by me then, please.
Yeah, I mean, my view is I just keep distance of people. If they want to do something, just stand over there.
I do that as a normal thing, even regardless of the. Just you stay over there. I'll be here.
Yeah.
So.
But we're all, going back to my watch collecting, all the guys that we would meet up, they're all desperate for a meet to happen. Usually go to a venue and we'll have a good chat, and if you're not driving, you can have a few drinks.
Right.
There was supposed to be a global meet up in London in I think it was September, October. from Red Bar. So this is people coming from the States, from Asia,
Wow.
congregating in London. There's going to be talks and things all over the city. And all that got cancelled. It's got postponed till, I think it's May next year sometime. I'll be surprised if that still goes ahead, because we're still seeing, certainly things in continental Europe, you're seeing things not going quite in the right direction. You know, things popping up here and there. It may well be that one of the unintended consequences of all this is that you might find there's more people dying as a result of all the lockdown measures, because they're not getting the treatment for their cancers and other ailments, than people actually dying of COVID. And then the government's in a real sticky wicket and saying, well, do we allow more COVID, or do we allow people movement to get the treatments that are required? So I can see that decision coming.
Yeah. Now, are you guys like with schools? Are they doing like virtual learning over there, or are they?
No, yeah, full time. Back full time.
Back full time.
No, yeah, back full time. Yeah. There's been a couple of schools where the adults have caught some COVID, but they're not ascertained that it's from the children or from the adults themselves.
Okay.
So the children may be carriers. They tend not to get very ill. It's only time will tell whether certainly the Scottish government will be a bit more proactive than they are down south. So.
Yeah, we're just getting back into getting the schools open again, and kind of hearing a mixed bag. I mean, you hear about a bunch about staff and some of the kids actually acquiring it once they've gone back to school, but other schools are okay. I don't know. It's just crazy, and I don't think any normal regular person who's not doing that, you know, like the infectious disease experts and whatever, any normal person I think is like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna, listen to whatever news source you have and try and go from there. So, but I don't know. To me, it's scary though. I think if I had a child in elementary school, I think I would probably over here at least. I think I would stick with the virtual learning until I felt a little more comfortable. But
yeah, I think it's all down to information, communications. Scottish government's actually been quite good compared to the other, compared to the English government, and giving information. There was a really good information pack that came out from a girls' school in Falkirk. Told them how they're going to do things, how the school's been organised, one-way systems, all this sort of stuff. So there's lots of good information, and you feel that somebody's actually sat down and actually worked through the problem. How do we get things moving from here? Because people can have all this various rhetoric. At the end of the day, if you don't get the kids back in school, you've got a very small window to educate kids,
right?
And it could be a lost generation who don't get that time back. Are you still seeing me?
Yeah, I had a window pop up on here and went right in front of the.
Yeah, because I've got a wee window for the video, but it doesn't show, and I don't see my face in it at the moment. I don't know for what reason. So.
Oh, I still got you. We're still going. No, I agree with you on that. I mean, I don't know. It's unfortunate that this is happening, and I mean, what are you going to do though? It's just I wish attitudes were different over here than they are. I mean, I can't imagine. I imagine from your perspective over in Scotland, we kind of look like a giant circus over here, or worse.
Well, just the United States looks like 50 different countries, all pulling in different directions.
Yeah,
you've all got different agendas, different outlooks on things. I was reading. We don't want to delve in too much into politics, but you read about East and West Coast, where you could say the intelligentsia are in all the states, like the state that you live in. There's a flyover.
Yeah,
just down there. Where are they? Forget them. So they're heading off to San Fran or Los Angeles and then back to New York, and anybody in between, let them eat cake.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, in that, well, yeah, I don't want to talk about politics. There's so many more interesting things we can talk about. And that's been beaten to death anyway. So what I saw on the can there, it says Irn Bru Extra. What's the extra? Like extra Scotch in there?
It's like Coca-Cola Max.
Oh, okay.
So it's the sugar-free.
Excellent.
So without being, it's not the diet stuff. It's got the same taste as what you've got. It doesn't have the sugar in it.
Okay.
This came out a couple of years ago. And it does taste nice. This goes way back to my childhood. I mean, my grandmother used to have a chap used to come round with the horse and cart, is it, or they call it a horse and dray, and it's a cart and dray, and all the soda would be in the back of this cart, and she'd buy a couple of cases, and there was always a case of 12 bottles. These would be the full sort of 1 litre, or was it 20 fluid ounces of Irn Bru.
Oh boy!
And in those days the bottles were returnable, so you got what would be an old UK money was threepence, I think it was, for taking a bottle back. So you'd always be in exchange. You get the bottles and.
Wow! So, we used to do that too, minus the horse and cart. But yeah, we actually would truck over to the next city, and I was just little, but I can remember backing up to a dock, and we're thinking like, what are we doing, with the car? And I'm like, why are we here? This place is kind of scary. And then we went in and walked through and picked out different flavored sodas, and I think it was bear soda, I think it was called. But yeah, back in the day, not like today where you can just go to any gas station or whatever, and everything's right there for you. Everything's so convenient today.
Yeah, and it's. I think back to my childhood and the stuff I used to play with, and my mum used to, in the summer holidays, my mum opened the door and I was out at 9 o'clock in the morning, and she wouldn't see me till 5 at night when I was hungry.
Yep. That's how we rolled when we were little too.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore with the kids. It's stranger danger.
Right.
The media, there's a paedophile around every bush and all that sort of stuff, and it's not really true.
No, it really isn't. I think there's, but it's again going back to what we said before. People, they get fed a steady diet of fear mongering, and eventually it becomes towards normal, and then you're just scared to do pretty much anything. So yeah. I don't know. My thought is it's like a compliance thing here. We do this and everything will be fine. And I don't know. I don't know nothing. I just drove a truck around.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing we're all jealous of your gas prices. Is over here it's probably touching $7 for a US gallon.
Boy. Oh wow.
You going about the price of Irn Bru there, but the price of gas over here. I run a diesel, so I get good mileage in the diesel.
Yeah, we actually bought a diesel too. I don't know what it's called, but a Volkswagen. So
well, I've got an Audi, so I was a Volkswagen man since I had Volkswagen since 1998, and when I retired, I bought an Audi. So, but with COVID, it's sitting at the front; it's not moving anywhere. You start to think that the payments on it, I could be doing something else with that. Downsize, so I'll probably leave it for a year, then downsize, and I'm even looking at electric vehicle. Keep my moving.
Yeah, that's what if I ever can get to a point where I can do something like that, absolutely. I think I'm going to do that too. I would love to be able to buy a Tesla, but that kind of looks like a show-off vehicle. So
yeah, well, I had a test drive on a Tesla, and have to say it was an amazing piece of technology. Over here, they're around about £70,000 over here. The exchange rate is 1.25, something like that. So they're expensive vehicles, but the fit and finish isn't anywhere near like a Merc or a BMW. So the fit and finish needs to come up in my book. But too expensive to buy. So there's a Volkswagen are bringing out a new vehicle called an ID3 here.
Okay.
It's not going to the States. You're going to get a wee crossover, like a 4x4 SUV, called the ID4. So the ID4, and it's going to be roughly about the size of a Golf, length, a wee bit wider. It's got a longer wheelbase because the wheels can be pushed out to the corners. Okay. And I think it'll sit for 6 foot odd adults, no problem. I'll get 300 odd miles on a charge.
Wow.
If you go for it. And the smaller one, the ID3 that's just coming out just now. So if you go to Google and put ID3 Volkswagen, you'll see what that looks like. That's just been released at the moment, and that's where Volkswagen are heading with this. And all the manufacturers have to get vehicles like that at that price point. It's going to be about $35,000, something like that. And if they don't get to that, because that's their survival is that mass market. Mm-hmm. If they crack that, then they'll want to watch, as they say. Sticking with Teslas, which are really for people with a lot more money to burn, I don't think it's going to be a solution for the mass market at all. So I keep my eye on. There was a meeting with the watch enthusiasts here. There's a magazine out of New York called Hodinkee, and they came to Glasgow of all places with Grand Seiko, the Japanese people, and that sparked a lot of interest for the local enthusiasts. And I reckon that the local dealer got probably 10 or more purchases. Now as one of them within a couple of months. They're outstanding watches, lovely, a lovely dial, just a lovely look about them. So that was one of the ones that I collected. And then when I retired, Mary Jane bought me this. This is a Zenith. Now if you can see that clear enough.
Up a little bit. Oh, holy cow! That has got a bunch of stuff. That's beautiful. So
there's actually two mechanical movements in this. There's a movement for the chronograph, the timer, and there's a movement for time. So if I set it, I don't know if you'll see it, but if I set it off, you see the second hand going round.
Oh, yep.
So that's spinning at 1 second a revolution.
Holy cow, that's neat.
So for that watch to be able to do that, it's the escapement's running at 15 hertz, which is 360,000 vibrations an hour.
Wow.
So, yeah, lovely watch. It's made of ceramic. The case is made of ceramic. So that was a retirement gift from MJ to me. So much appreciated. So, but,
that's a beautiful watch.
Yeah, but some of the other stuff you get, here's an old American one. This is a lovely.
Oh, that's beautiful too. Wow.
That's an Accutron Boulevard. So this was made in the 60s. This is 1964. So this is a tuning fork. So this predates the quartz movement. So Boulevard were ahead of their time, when they brought this out, and they've just now this year brought out a new watch which is really linked to the DNA of this. It's an open work. You can see the movement, and it runs on electrostatic energy. So that's always a talking point. It's not. I didn't pay a lot of money for that, maybe a few $100. But see, when you wear it, what's that?
Right?
Amazing. Because it hums. When you put it to your ear,
Oh, wow.
it gives a hum. You don't know if the mic can pick it up.
No, I don't think. No, I'm not quite getting it.
It makes a hum,
Wow.
and that's just the tuning for it working, and it's a nice wee watch. So as I say, there's too many.
Right. Right. I have a I don't know if you'd call it a collection, but like I like baseball caps, like caps. So I don't care what they say on them. I just like them. And I don't know why. I have a box of them, probably more than one box, like downstairs. I don't have them out. I just like hats. In coffee mugs. Coffee mugs is another one. Hats and coffee mugs. I mean, it's ridiculous, but you know, I can't go anywhere with like, oh, a new coffee mug, oh, a new hat. So yeah, I don't know.
Each to their own.
What's that?
I mean, everybody's got something that they find it gives an endorphin release because they say, oh, that's right, nice. And
Right.
I mean, so somebody has a fountain pen.
Oh wow.
So that one's that one's a Mont Blanc. So that's one of the fountain pens I've got. So I collect a few of these. There's one up behind me in the box. This one is, you can see that very well. This is a Namiki. So it's Mackie E. So that's a lacquered finish, and then they sprinkle on like gold dust.
Holy cow.
And that image is actually in relief. You can feel it sits out from the.
Oh wow, that's a gorgeous pen.
Chinese Phoenix.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
So,
that's neat. The nicest pen and pencil set I have is from the United States Postal Service. So, hey, you never know. It might be a collector's item here shortly.
Well, people should be. You're always surprised what people collect over time. I mean, if you'd bought an Apple One, how much would that be worth now if it was still working? You had one that was still working.
Right.
I think people say, "Oh, you've got to have a Rolex, and it's got to be this, or you've got to have that." Why did you buy that? That's rubbish. I bought it because I like it.
Right.
And it's one of the things I like about the group I go to. If you're going to go to a group and you're going to go to a meeting, you're going to act like a dick. You're going to get shoved out the door because it's not about you being able to afford more than the other person. It's just about a love of watches. And some of the guys collect G-Shocks, and I've got a couple of G-Shocks behind me, and they're great. If you're out and about, as it is in the pure weather, or you're working in the car, you want something that you can knock about and not give it too much of a thought.
Right.
So there's all different people. There's people who collect military watches, and there's people who just collect one brand, and then you get others who can collect anything, could be very eclectic in how they approach things because they like it. Oh, I like that.
No,
it's the same with cars.
I think if I were to get into watches, I love pocket watches. I have a couple of them that I just keep put away. Just and again, every once in I don't even show them to people, but they're just my little thing. So pocket watches.
Pocket watches are quite affordable because nobody uses them now, so you can pick them up for a few $100, a few £100.
Right.
Yeah, they've got a certain charm about them, and if you have them in a chain, bit of class.
Yeah, that's something I could, if I was able to, I would probably blow a ton of money on that. So I honestly I don't know what it is about them. I just like them. I mean, I don't use them. I don't think I would ever carry one with me. I just like them. So.
See, in my case, I was a mechanical engineer, so I'm fascinated with the mechanics because these are the most complicated and finely tuned mechanical devices that humans have
Right.
invented. I mean, I would say that most of the watches I have are at I would say the low end of luxury. I mean, I've been at some meetings where they've had watches which are in the hundreds of thousands of pounds, and the workmanship, the amount of man hours that's gone in to actually make these things is phenomenal. And
Right.
and you look at these tiny, tiny little pieces of steel or brass, and in some cases you understand that somebody's actually made, they've made it either on a machine, but they've polished it by hand. And we were fortunate enough to go to a big show in Geneva last year, or year before last, and I saw a watch which is made by a brand called J.J. Lecoultre, and this had Westminster chimes. And I'm deaf, I'm going deaf, and this was in a glass case, and I could hear them chiming off.
Wow.
And not only has it got the chimes, but it had what they call a tourbillon, which is a cage where the escapement sits in a cage. And this rotates, but it rotates in 3 axes. Can you imagine? So this is in three axis thing. So if you go into Google and just put GLC Westminster, and you'll see it. And I'm looking at this thing, trying to get my head around all this mechanical working. All mechanical, it's all wound up. If you wanted to buy one, you'd order it. You wouldn't get it for 2 years. It'll cost you £800,000.
Wow.
But it's that thing with humans, what the ingenuity that humans can do is what really attracts me to all this.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I've taken one apart before, just to, like, I can actually remember doing this when I was little. I took apart a watch just to see what was on the inside, and pretty much the moment I got it apart, I was like, that was a mistake. That's the whole boy. That's a lot of intricate little tiny things in there. Yeah, and anymore, I don't have the dexterity or the patience anymore to even try to do that. But it's fascinating, and I can understand. Like you said, being a mechanical engineer, why. I mean, that's tiny, tiny stuff.
Yeah, I mean the tolerances are in microns they're measuring, and some of the watch manufacturers are using pretty esoteric materials these days. You can get a whole case made of sapphire.
Wow.
Crystal. And the movements, so this looks like a glass case, but it's made of sapphire crystal, and the movements inside it. And they're just amazing things to see, that people put these things together. So just hoping to get back to some of the meets and see some of the guys and have a good crack, as they say. We're that far north, we're at the 56th parallel. So our summer nights, we can get daylight. A couple of weeks past went into 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
So it's now 20 past 8 here, so there's still light. It won't go dark till 9 o'clock here. The added thing is, once we go into winter, the days are very short.
Right.
But yeah, it's a nice climate here. It's not. It can get very humid, basically because you get the warm air currents coming off the Atlantic, and you get cold air coming down from the Arctic. So
how are your winters?
Winters are mild. It won't be like what you get. I think this part of the world, the record's probably about -12, something like -14. We don't see a lot of snowfall now, not like what it was in my childhood. I don't think there was a really snowy day last year, as far as I can remember. It tends to be a bit more damp, wetter. One of the things I do hate is if it's cold and wet, you can just feel the energy getting sucked out of you. When it's cold and wet. I don't mind the snow, because it tends to be a bit dry because the moisture's in the snow. If it's raining and cold, it's so.
Yeah, the getting away from snow is what I want to do at some point. The older I get, wintertime, it hurts. It hurts to be outside. It hurts to be inside. It's snowing, shoveling, all that stuff. I
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here.
Well, I quite like the cold. It's the heat that bothers me. I can't. I'm not a beach person, so I don't like lying around on the beach. I just find it just brain numbing. Um, there's was it trying to it's almost 10 years since I took Mary Jane on a road trip. We started in Denver and went all over and what have you. And I just remember the temperature at one point, 105 degrees. I think we were in White Sands at the time with Susie, and you're just melting. But it was a dry heat. It wasn't that clammy, but I was suffering because it was just powering on me. You go into the car, then you overdo the air conditioning, and then you get out again. Oh, that's right. The glasses steam up.
Yep. Yeah. I lived in Texas for a little bit, and it was pretty much right on the coast, and so you would get the hot heat, and then have all the humidity off from the ocean or the Gulf rather, and yeah, it's just like walking into an oven. The minute you open the door, go outside, it's like walking into an oven. It's just like, oh, it takes your breath away, and ugh. And like I said earlier, bad fat guy weather, no good, just no good. But I'm finding the older I get, I can't. I'm turning into a princess. I have to. It's too hot out. Oh, it's too cold out. The nerve endings in my finger. I don't know how this happened, but I cannot grab. If this was frozen, I can hold that for a little bit. Otherwise, the pain just shoots up my fingers. Same with heat.
Right.
If it's if it's anything other than room temperature, I definitely get some kind of reaction in my fingertips on both hands. And it's so, I mean, before I could grab a hot plate, whatever, pick it up and do whatever. One of the things I used to do when I drove, I'd stick my hand out the window for just to get it used to the cold, and then because I used to hunt and fish and do whatever, and so I could hunt and fish without gloves on. I'd let my hands get really cold. That probably wasn't a smart idea. I don't know.
I can relate to that because I went skiing in France, and one day I forgot my gloves. I can't be bothered them back all the way back to the hotel, so I just skied all day. And in continental Europe, when you're skiing at altitude, it's rather warm. You can end up sitting with a t-shirt on and what have you. But my hands got chilled with the blast of the air. And now, if it's very cold weather, I find that they go a wee bit blue in colour and I can feel them. So it's probably related to being that sort of exposure. So I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, the other dumb thing I used to do was I used to wear shorts in the wintertime. So my knees too, the same thing. But live and learn, I guess.
Our postman does that.
Yeah.
Shorts and t-shirt right throughout winter.
Wow. Well, I mean, I kind of get looks here. I used to, when I was driving yet, I would wear shorts until there was snow on the ground. I didn't care what the temperature was, but if there was snow, then I would wear long pants. But otherwise, it's shorts all the time. I keep telling people I don't like wearing pants.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I leave it at that. I don't mention that I want to wear I wear shorts, but I just tell them I don't like wearing pants. They're like, so. All right, my friend. I got to wrap this up.